What you believe about your genetics will absolutely affect your gains in the gym. And this is actually a proven fact. All right, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, though. So when I say that, I've seen this to be true with men and women both. I've seen it true with men and women both. But let's talk about the studies that we've seen on this. And this was an interesting one that was done a number of years ago. A group of young men were taken, like untrained lifters, right? Took this whole group of men. They put them into random groups. Okay, and if I recall, this was a double-blind study. The young men were told in one group, okay, that they did genetic testing for them, and they had below average genetics for gaining muscle. Okay, they took another group. They told them that they had above average genetics for gaining muscle. In fact, they told them, you're like in the top, 15% or so. It was something like that. You're in like the top 10 or 15% of people genetically for gaining muscle. You've got a gene that lets you gain muscle faster. Okay, so they took these people and they put them on similar programming, same programming. They had them train for X number of weeks. Okay, same programming. They didn't do any genetic testing. They were just random groups. What do you think happened? Compared to control group, because I think if I recall, they even had a control group. The people who were told they had below average genetics for gaining muscle gained less muscle and less strength. The group that was told they had above average genetics gained more muscle. Okay? Let that sink in for a minute. There was no difference. These were just random groups. They did not test their genetics. They were randomly selected, like just random, like I kind of out of a hat. Random selection. But literally the only difference in the variables was that one group was told they had good genetics for gaining muscle and the other were told they had bad genetics for gaining muscle. It literally affected their results. Okay? Now, are we saying genetics don't matter? Are we saying genetics don't matter? But the people who have the really amazing genetics for gains already, it's not going to matter. Okay? Because, yeah, we get that tiny number of genetic freaks. Okay? We get that tiny number of freaks. But they're irrelevant to this whole conversation. Why? Because everyone else isn't that different. Meaning the rest of the population, the other, 98%, right? The other 98% are all pretty similar, right? Not that much variation, really. It's just that you have that little tiny subset of people who gain muscle fast. And before people jump in, notice that is smaller than any ethnic group. So don't try to go there with it, right? Because I'm sorry, we see Mr. Olympias of multiple backgrounds, so don't even go there because everyone wants to go there. It's only actually 2 or 3% of the population, period, across the board, that has those amazing genes for that. And they're going to get jacked as long as they train. Okay, they're going to get jacked as long as they train. So for everyone else, it's going to be a matter of just putting in the work. But what you believe matters. Now, people say, well, what about this other person here? I'll get that. I'm like, well, you also have to factor in epigenetics. Yes, the people who started training at 13 and doing sports and all that stuff, they have an edge on you. But that's not genetics. That's because they built a foundation early. And yeah, that actually is might as well be genetically gifted compared to the average guy. But it's not because they were born with different genes. It's because they put in the work. And yes, you will be behind the curve if you didn't start doing sports early. That's a reality. Okay, that is a reality, and you got to accept that. But that's not your genes. That meant someone else did work. So someone points out, well, this person, they did sports and football and they did exercises. They were 13 and they get to 22 and we all start working out and they're just crazy jacked. Well, yeah, but they have a 10-year head start. So I would say to you, train really hard for the next 10 years. Okay, that's your solution. They weren't born in a better situation. They put in 10 years of work in other sports and being physically active. Okay, so you shouldn't expect to be where they are at 23 because you started lifting working out 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Well, you got another 7 or 8 years to go, right? Yeah, that's not fair. The person who started doing sports when they were 13, when they're 35, if they've lifted all as an adult, they're going to have crazy results. Of course they will. They've got 20 years of experience. All right. So set that aside. People blame their genetics. And I've seen the same thing. They're like, I've seen women who go, I've got terrible butt genetics. Look how small my butt is. But then they do the right exercises and lots of squats. And then all of a sudden they have glutes. I've watched it firsthand. Clients I had for years. I've watched it. I've seen it happen. Seen it happen. And it's the same thing with guys. So you got to stop this silly nonsense because we know based on the research that what you believe matters. So what you tell yourself matters. So if you wake up and go, I just don't have good genetics for gaining muscle, you believe it, you will shortchange your results below what your potential could have been. You have to get in and believe that you're going to get the result. You have to believe it. Your mindset matters. And you can't have other people telling you, oh, it's not. Look, it only matters if you're trying to be the best of the best. If you're trying to make your living as a fitness model, you're trying to, get an NFL scholarship. I'm sorry, NFL contract. You get a scholarship before that. Okay, sure. In those contexts, yes. Yeah, if you don't have great genetics, you probably are not going to be on the Mr. Olympia stage. That doesn't mean you can't have an extremely impressive results. You just are not going to be the best in the world. You're not going to, sorry. But that's okay. Doesn't mean you can't get amazing results. But you have to tell yourself that you will. And this whole genetic cop-out doesn't help. Okay, it doesn't help. And just don't compare yourself to the genetic freaks and the problems go away. Right? It's that simple. Put in the work. Do it consistently. Believe that you will get results. These are the keys. Train hard. Train smart. Eat clean. Eat your protein. Get your sleep. You will get results, but you have to be consistent. And not believing in yourself will affect consistency. Right? It will be the death of your gains if you let it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.